Hey everyone, welcome to this edition of Keep Watch Pass on the It's Not That Bad podcast channel, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. I'm going to do my best to not make any odd noises during this show. There'll be no growls. There will be no barks. There will be no roars. There will be no... I can't even, because there's so many noises that I could make, because we're covering monster movies on this edition, and here to join me is definitely not a monster, my lovely wife Carrie. Carrie, how are you doing today?
Oh, nice save.
I thought so.
You could almost like edit together all the burp outtakes.
Oh my God.
Make like the best monster sounding.
See, I'd be worried if I took all the burps that we have during the actual recording of these shows and put them all together. I would either frighten children everywhere, or I would inadvertently make a Christmas album.
Like the singing cats?
The singing cats, but singing burps at this point. Which now all of a sudden everyone's like, no, you do that.
Intrigued. Yeah.
Intrigued, but scared all at the same time. All right. So, Carrie, when it comes to monster movies, what are some of your first thoughts as to monsters you were going for? Like, what was some of the criteria that you were going with?
Well, I mean, it's a great question because it's all relative, right? Like, even doing an internet search, I found that, Godzilla and King Kong were coming up as monster movies.
Well, yes, they are.
A lot of horror movies, but really, and Jurassic Park, interestingly enough.
Well, dinosaurs are monsters per se.
It's interesting because are they classified? Is a dinosaur really a monster, or is it a prehistoric animal?
Well, ask a tasty person. That's pretty much what it boils down to. And the thing is, too, it doesn't necessarily have to be a big monster per se. You can have tiny monsters. You can also have big monsters.
Like my pet monster.
My pet monster. Right now, everyone's sitting there going, if you're laughing and you're singing along, you're old. That's pretty much how it boils down to. I'm sorry, yeah. You're old.
It's like when you see remember these 80s cartoons, and I'm like, that used to be my Saturday with a bowl of cereal.
Yeah, there basically used to be a disclaimer warning. It's like, if you start singing along with the theme song, you're old as dirt. You're welcome. All right, so here's what we're going to do, dear listeners. We are going to go through 3 monster movies each, a keep, a watch, and a pass. The keep is one we enjoy monstrously. The watch is one that we'll spend a good amount of time with it. And the pass is one that just eat us. Just eat us and end the misery at that point. So, Carrie, to you, your keep monster movie.
Without a doubt, I am taking it back to my childhood, to a childhood of one Fred Savage, Howie Mandel's Little Monster. I freaking loved this movie.
Was it the movie, or did you just love Fred Savage at the time?
Not at the time. I think he was a little bit young.
Okay.
All the same, you know what? I actually was crushing more on Howie Mandel being a badass, earring, blue, spiky-haired, metal leather jacket.
You make him sound like the most interesting Smurf.
Howie Mandel kicked ass as the monster under Fred Savage's bed.
I will have to say that Fred Savage is slightly older than you.
He's older?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Now all of a sudden you're like, everything I thought I knew.
Is it bad then that as a child I was crushing more on Howie Mandel?
No.
He must be way older than me now.
Howie's still awesome, though.
Howie's
still awesome.
He is quite, yes.
And that's the thing, too. It's like Howie Mandel is, I don't want to say he's the Jim Carrey of an earlier age kind of thing, but he really was that very animated comedic actor who just brought so much family fun. I think that's the thing with Howie Mandel. Howie Mandel was perfect family fun. He was family friendly. And yes, in some of his stand-up, it's, a little bit risque per se, at least compared to some of his films, or at least some of his, more family-friendly roles, like A Little Monster. But he brought the perfect amount of light PG.
My dad actually brought me to a Howie Mandel stand-up comedy show.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, it's funny that you say that, because I'm like, yeah, okay. I mean, sure, he dropped a few F-bombs, but I mean, at the time,
but nothing
who didn't?
crazy, right?
Like Dana Carvey.
It's not not like he took you to a Sam Kinison show.
No.
Or Andrew Dice Clay.
Or George Carlin.
Or Dennis Leary.
Mm.
Yeah. So clearly better choices were made. It's all good. My monster film is going to be absolute no surprise to you whatsoever. Because when you have a film that has a big giant kaiju and big giant robots and they go smashy smash against each other, I'm going to like literally squee. Pacific Rim should have been a no-brainer.
This is your Christian Slater for squee.
Right? Yeah. Okay, you're going squee over Christian Slater, and I'm going squee over giant kaiju versus giant robots. We are not the same here. We are not the same at all at that point. Guillermo del Toro made a film that literally said, I want big giant robots and big giant monsters, and I want them to fight each other. This film on paper had no business being as good as it is, but it is so enjoyable because it knows exactly what it is, and it doesn't pretend to be anything else. It's not a morality tale. It's not like a bunch of kids get together and, kind of like Pacific Rim Uprising. Kids get together and, rise up as one kind of thing to defeat the monster. No. From the Idris Elba, like, we are canceling the apocalypse speech, which is one of the best, going into battle speeches in cinema history. No bet, like on the same level as Bill Pullman in Independence Day. That kind of level of speech. Idris Elba killed it. And the monsters and the robots, like the scenes between the two of them looked so good. There was a style to this film, and the world of the time, like Tokyo, looked awesome. And even the scenes up in like the I guess Alaskan tundra or whatever, like this film brought everything, and the robots felt so real in this, and the scale was there too. Like Pacific Rim is still the biggest legendary property that I wish they would somehow get into the legendary Godzilla films. I still want that crossover. I want Godzilla and Kong to go up against freaking Gypsy Danger. That's what I want. I want Pacific Rim to have to deal with Godzilla. I want that. Make it happen. But then we get to my watch film. And you are going to smile when I mention this one. Because it's got Fred Ward and it's got Kevin Bacon. We're talking Tremors. Big, giant ass sandworms under the desert. And yes, it's a monster film. But it's a really good comedy as well. And there was almost a reality to it. Like, not necessarily a reality per se. Like, yes, these giant worms could exist. But the motivation behind what the people do in order to be able to avoid the big giant worms underneath, knowing and recognizing that they are attracted to ground vibrations and basically hiding up on top of these trailers. And Tremors is good because they made far too many sequels to Tremors because they were trying to replicate what made that film special. This is one of those films where if someone told you Fred Ward and Kevin Bacon have to evade giant sandworms, that film shouldn't work. That premise should not be good in execution. And yet it was so good. I think there's at least 6 Tremors films out there, all of them paling in comparison to the first one. All right, Carrie, your watch film.
I absolutely love the comedic combo of Sully and Mike from Monsters Inc. Oh my God.
They are monsters, so it qualifies.
They are monsters. The entire premise is that they work for Monsters Inc. with the variety of monsters. Steve Buscemi's, was he a purple lizard kind of color changing shapeshifter? Yeah. Like Monsters Inc. Probably one of the most quotable,
I'm watching you.
Yeah.
Always watching you.
Right?
And again, the premise is good. I mean, this
It's
is
a buddy
definitely one of
movie.
those. Well, yeah, it is a buddy movie at its core, absolutely. But the premise of it, an entire ecosystem built on, or at least powered by, children's fear and children's screams, and then realizing that laughter works better, right? And it works. And the pairing of John Goodman and Billy Crystal. I mean, Billy freaking Crystal. Like, you could not have picked a better voice duo for Mike and Sully. You really couldn't.
Yeah, it was such a great buddy movie. They were just like the way they played off each other and drove each other nuts, and yet were so great friends.
Yeah. I mean, Monsters University kind of pulled from a lot of those, for lack of a better term, Revenge of the Nerds type tropes. But there was still even something about, Monsters University that worked out well. And you could really take any kind of monster and put any kind of monster, for lack of a better term, skill set into the equation, and it would still work, so long as the actors knew exactly what they were doing. They had the right voice actors, and really, Pixar should be given a lot of credit for building the worlds that they build and creating iconic characters. Because I don't think there's any other animation company. I mean, yes, Illumination to a point, because you got Minions, but on a grand scale, Pixar has been almost perfect in creating the worlds. Maybe not every sequel does as well as they might hope, but the worlds that they create and the characters that they bring into the public pop culture zeitgeist, really, they hit on almost every single time.
And you know what I love the most are the Easter eggs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you'll see like the ball from Toy Story come in, or Andy's hat.
Yeah. It's almost like watching a Tarantino film, and you're literally looking for the pack of Red Apple cigarettes, right?
Right.
And it's not necessarily like their world building, but they're little nods here and there, and that's what makes movie making kind of fun. And there is actually like a code in almost every Pixar film where it's like, I can't remember what the actual number it is, but it's the classroom of the animation studio that most of them all went to. So there's like a little signature in there in every Pixar film, if you know where to look for it. Plus, I don't know who Jeff Ratzenberger has pictures of in order to be able to get that much voice work, but more Jeff Ratzenberger.
But he just has that perfect quintessential voice.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. So now we get to your pass film, Monsters to Pass On.
I truly hope it qualifies. But when I was searching up monster movies, Cloverfield came up.
It qualifies.
It does. But is it really a monster? Like, it's kind of...
Oh, it is. Very much so.
I always thought it was like just kind of like Godzilla, but never actually seen.
See, the thing, I love...
crushing New York City.
I love Cloverfield because you don't see the monster until the very end. Like, this was smart filmmaking. This was very good filmmaking.
You liked it. I know you did.
I absolutely did, because it felt like a found footage film, very much in the vein of a Blair Witch Project.
I know. I found it to be, I don't know. I couldn't get behind it. I guess I wanted to see the monster more, and I just couldn't make it to the end. I got bored waiting.
Yeah. See, I am all for a film swinging for the fences, right? It's a bold move to make a monster film and only see the monster at the very end, right? That shows a level of restraint in filmmaking, and very much like Godzilla minus one. Because really, when you think about Godzilla minus one, Godzilla isn't in it that much. It's a human story, and Godzilla just happens to be the problem to figure out. Cloverfield is a human story, and the monster is just the backdrop for that. It's something to escape, and it's raw and visceral and different. And you don't blow you don't blow your load halfway through or even at the beginning, right? It's at that end. It's that faceless terror. Like, Cloverfield was in the running for my watch, definitely, maybe even my keep. But I also understand how the filming style might not sit well with people, because there's a ton of shaky cam in this. Like, if you have equilibrium problems, do not be watching Cloverfield. I understand that. It's not everyone's cup of tea. I personally would have liked it. I know it wasn't a big fan for you. I can't believe I'm actually saying I'm going to pass on a Godzilla film, because I love my Godzilla films. But Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire, the brand new one from Legendary. Where do I start? You got King Kong with a Nintendo Power Glove. You got little angry, annoying monkey. There is so much monkey dialogue in this that it felt like I was watching the Star Wars Holiday Special. The humans are there to basically drop exposition and narrate like it's a freaking documentary. Like, I think the Gareth Edwards Godzilla is a great film. I think they did that perfectly. I think they got the tonality of it. It felt like one of the better Godzilla films out there. Godzilla minus one of the best films of 2023, and deservedly got an Oscar. This is a load of monkey crap, this one. I gave it a good try. I tried. I was like, okay, maybe it's better than I think. Because if you remember when we did our look ahead to movies of 2024, this was my pass as far as movies I wasn't really looking forward to because of the freaking Power Glove and Godzilla and Kong running together like they're about to jump into the ring and take the tag team titles. This film sucked. It did. And I understand the idea of building, for lack of a better term, a kaiju verse. Right? Godzilla and Kong. Legendary Pictures has the rights to both. And then you got Monarch, which came out on Apple TV, a very good show. And even Godzilla King of the Monsters and Godzilla versus Kong. Like, I was fine with those. This is, and I think it's because it came out so soon after Godzilla minus one. A movie that proved what a Godzilla film can be. And I'm not saying it has to be like some sweeping epic. I don't think every Godzilla film needs to be that. I personally get a kick out of dude in a Godzilla monkey suit, in a Godzilla rubber suit, like the Toho ones. Tokyo SOS. Godzilla Final Wars. I freaking love those films because they're so out there. This was bad. Like bad. And I can't believe I had to make this my pass pick. But on the upside, I do get to say, go back and listen to that episode of looking ahead at movies of 2024 of Keep Watch Pass. And then I can say, you know what, Jay? You were right. It's the only good thing I can say about this film. All right, Carrie. Thank you for this. Please remind our listeners what your keep, watch, and pass monster movies are.
I am keeping Little Monsters forever. I am watching Monsters, Inc. and passing on Cloverfield.
All right, I am keeping Pacific Rim because kaiju versus robots all day, every day. I am watching Tremors, and I am passing on Godzilla x Kong, The New Empire. Carrie, thank you for this. And to you, our listeners, you guys know the drill. If there is a topic that you want us to cover, hit us up on social media at NotThatBadCast or go to our website at NotThatBadCast.com. And while you are there, make sure you check out our Coming Soon page so you can drop us your picks and your comments. We want to shout you out in the show. Until next time, she's Carrie, I'm Jay. You guys are awesome. This is a monstrous episode of Keep Watch Pass on the It's Not That Bad podcast channel, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Take care.